The President of the Republic of Zimbabwe, Comrade Dr. Emmerson Mnangagwa, and the First Lady, Amai Dr. Auxilia Mnangagwa. All protocols observed. Your Excellency, to take us through today's double burial of our National Heroes program, allow me to invite the Minister of Justice, Legal and Parliamentary Affairs, who is also the Acting Minister of Home Affairs and Cultural Heritage, Honorable Ziyambi Ziyambi. Honorable Minister, sir.
Your Excellency, the President of the Republic of Zimbabwe, Head of State and Government, and Commander-in-Chief of the Zimbabwe Defense Forces, Comrade Dr. Emmerson Mnangagwa, and the First Lady, Amai Dr. Auxilia Mnangagwa. Your Excellency, we have lost two illustrious sons of the soil, Brigadier General retired Rungani and Comrade Walter Basopo. To start our proceedings, allow me, Your Excellency, to invite Chaplain Muleya, who is our Minister of Religion today, to lead us in prayer.
His Excellency, the President of the Republic of Zimbabwe, Head of State and Government, Commander-in-Chief of the Zimbabwe Defense Forces, His Excellency, President Dr. Emmerson Mnangagwa. Her Excellency, the First Lady of the Republic of Zimbabwe, Dr. Auxilia Mnangagwa. Your Excellency, you allow me to take you through the Bible reading and prayer, with all other protocols observed as deserved. My reading is taken from the book of John, chapter number 14, verse number 1. I would have read up to verse number 6, but I'll just take verse number 1. Verse number 1 says, "Let not your heart be troubled. Believe in the Father and in me."
Welcome to the Deep Dive. You sent us the sources. We dig into them to pull out what really matters.
That's the idea.
And today we're looking at a YouTube transcript. It's from Rory Studios News. It covers a double burial ceremony in Zimbabwe for two national heroes.
Right. Brigadier General Victor Tapani Rungani, retired, and Comrade Walter Basopo.
Exactly. So our mission here isn't just to recap the event, but to understand, what does this ceremony, these tributes, tell us about Zimbabwean values, about their history?
Precisely. The source gives us a lot to work with, details about their lives, their contributions, who was there, what was said. It's a window into how Zimbabwe honors its heroes.
Okay, so let's set the scene first. The transcript mentions the President, Comrade Dr. Emmerson Mnangagwa, and the First Lady, Dr. Auxilia Mnangagwa, were both present.
Yeah, that immediately tells you something.
What is that level of attendance signal right off the bat?
Well, it signals this is a major state event. It's not just a standard funeral. It's official recognition at the absolute highest level. It underscores the national significance they're placing on these two individuals.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
And the Minister of Justice, Legal and Parliamentary Affairs, who is also acting Minister of Home Affairs and Cultural Heritage, led the program.
That's another key detail.
Why him specifically? What's the connection there?
Well, linking it to justice, home affairs, cultural heritage, it frames the honoring of these heroes as being sort of fundamental to the nation's legal structures, its identity, its cultural memory. It's not separate from the state, it's integral.
Okay. Then there was the religious element. Chaplain Milea gave an invocation.
Yes, reading from the Bible, John 14.1, the theme was belief.
But he didn't just leave it at personal faith, did he? He connected it to the nation.
Exactly. He urged people to believe in Zimbabwe. That's quite a direct link.
What's the significance of blending faith and national identity like that?
It's fascinating. It suggests that, patriotism and national loyalty are being framed almost as a higher calling, maybe even having a spiritual dimension. It could be a way to emphasize shared values, resilience, unity, drawing strength from both belief in God and belief in the country.
He also had that line about loving the country involving hardship, torture, pain, and difficulties.
Quite stark phrase.
But that this hardship leads to protection and development. I feel like a very specific definition of patriotism.
It does. It suggests a narrative that doesn't shy away from the struggle. It acknowledges the sacrifices, the difficulties inherent in the nation's history, maybe particularly the liberation struggle, but also ongoing development. True commitment in this view means persevering through all that. It's not a superficial thing.
And then he added that being in Zimbabwe is by God's design.
Right.
And working for the country fulfills God's purpose. How does that shape the idea of national service here?
Well, it elevates it even further, doesn't it? It frames national service not just as a civic duty or even just patriotism, but as aligning with the divine plan. It gives the contributions of these heroes, and potentially anyone working for the nation, a really profound, almost sacred significance.
Okay, let's shift to the tributes themselves. First, for Brigadier General Rungani. Professor Ellen Rungani spoke for the family.
Yes, she mentioned he passed on April 22nd, and it was unexpected for the family.
What stood out from her description of him, beyond the understandable grief?
The sheer breadth of his life, really. War veteran, soldier, yes, but also a social worker, a mechanical engineer. That range is striking.
It suggests a life of contribution in many different areas.
Exactly. It perhaps points to an ideal of a hero who isn't confined to just one sphere, but contributes broadly to the nation's fabric, military, technical, social.
She shared some very personal things, too. His sense of humor, how he held his cigarette, making each child feel special. Why include those details in such a formal national setting?
Because they humanize him, right? It takes him beyond the titles, the medals, the official biography. You see the person, the father, the man his family knew. It makes the hero relatable and maybe underlines that national figures are still rooted in family, in community.
She really emphasized his integrity. Unparalleled integrity was the phrase, I think. And doing the right thing.
Yes, that came through strongly.
In the context of honoring a national hero, what message does that focus on integrity send?
It sends a clear message that ethical conduct, a strong moral compass, is considered absolutely essential for heroism in Zimbabwe. It's not just about what you achieve, but how you achieve it. So perhaps the core value being highlighted is that service and morality are deeply linked.
And as a family man, disciplined, but also soft with his daughters, always there for milestones.
Yeah, that paints a picture of a well-rounded person, strong in public life, but also dedicated privately.
How does that contribute to his heroic image?
I think it broadens the definition. It suggests that being a good family person, being present, offering wisdom, that's also part of a life worthy of this kind of national honor. It's not just about the battlefield or the office.
And the advice to find joy in small things, facing challenges with courage and grace.
That adds another layer, doesn't it? It highlights resilience, emotional strength. It suggests heroes aren't immune to life's difficulties, but their character shows in how they navigate them. That itself becomes exemplary.
Okay, turning to his more official career. Post-independence military roles. Commanding officer, technical staff, director roles. Lots of medals mentioned too.
Right. Listing those provides the concrete evidence of his service, his expertise, his long commitment within the Defense Forces after independence. It establishes his credentials.
Liberation Medal, Independence Medal, 10-year service. The Grand Officer of the Zimbabwe Order of Merit Award. That sounds particularly significant.
It is. That's a very high honor, reinforcing his standing.
Then later, he worked in the president's office dealing with war veterans and chaired a development trust in Mesvingo.
Which again shows that breadth we talked about. His work wasn't just military. He was involved in veteran affairs, in regional development.
And his innovativeness. In the automotive sector, crucial for campaigns in Mozambique, Somalia, the DRC.
Yeah, that's a fascinating point. It shows practical, technical skill making a real difference in challenging military operations. It highlights a different kind of contribution beyond command or strategy. So it seems Zimbabwe values heroes who contribute on, well, multiple fronts. military, social, technical.
Integrity, humility, loyalty, enthusiasm, visionary. These were the leadership qualities mentioned.
A powerful combination. It sums up the kind of leader he's being remembered as.
Okay, let's move to the second hero honored. Comrade Walter Basopo. A family representative spoke for them.
Yes, expressing gratitude for the National Hero status and the burial at the National Heroes Acre.
For listeners who might not know, what exactly does that status, national hero and burial there, signify in Zimbabwe?
It's the highest honor the country bestows. It means the state officially recognizes you made truly exceptional contributions, usually related to the liberation struggle or national unity and development afterwards. And the National Heroes Acre, it's a national monument, a symbolic final resting place reserved only for these figures. It cements their place in the national story.
Got it. The family described him as the very thread holding them together, a beacon of unity, wisdom, love. Again, very personal qualities.
That pattern continues. It reinforces that idea national heroes embody strong personal, familial, community values too. It's not detached from their public role. These qualities maybe even enable their public service.
He was remembered as a valiant freedom fighter, a true patriot, but also, significantly, as a respected farmer contributing to national food security.
That combination is interesting, isn't it?
Yeah, freedom fighter and farmer. What does that pairing suggest about valued qualities?
It suggests heroism isn't limited to just one kind of contribution. Fighting for liberation is paramount, clearly, but so is building the nation afterwards. Contributing to something as fundamental as food security is seen as patriotic, as heroic service in its own right. It broadens the definition.
And philanthropy too, helping orphans, widows, vulnerable people in the community.
Right. That shows a commitment to social welfare, a sense of responsibility for others beyond any official duties, making a tangible difference in individual lives.
The family mentioned his Chimurenga name, Jerry Zasukwa. Can you explain the significance of having a Chimurenga name?
Sure. Chimurenga refers to the liberation wars. During the struggle, fighters often adopted these specific names. It was partly about identity, solidarity with the cause, sometimes security. These names often had meanings related to the fight bravery, resilience, that kind of thing. So mentioning it connects him instantly and powerfully to that defining historical period.
Okay. We heard about his background joining the struggle in Mozambique in '76, training, being deployed to Zanla's security department.
Yes, details that underline his early commitment. He was involved from a relatively young age, took risks, made sacrifices for the cause. It establishes his liberation credentials.
And then the injury in '79, a road accident leading to amputation of his arm.
A major setback, obviously.
But he didn't stop. He was deployed to spearhead ZANU's political campaigns before the 1980 elections. What does that tell you?
It speaks volumes about his resilience, his dedication. To suffer such a serious injury but continue serving, shifting into a political role right before the crucial first elections. It shows an incredible, unwavering commitment to seeing a liberated Zimbabwe become reality, regardless of his personal circumstances.
Then, post-independence, a very long career. 45 years in the President's Department.
Right, starting in 1980 as a trainee intelligence officer.
And rising all the way to Director of Counterintelligence by 2022.
A career like that, especially in intelligence, signifies immense trust, competence, loyalty over a very long period. It suggests he was a key figure in the state's security apparatus throughout much of independent Zimbabwe's history.
The transcript notes his promotion to Deputy Director of Counterintelligence happened during a period of perceived destabilization after land reform. Without taking sides on the politics, why mention that timing?
While noting the timing suggests his skills were seen as particularly crucial during a challenging period for national security, as perceived by the state at that time. It implies his promotion was linked to navigating those specific challenges, highlighting the importance placed on counterintelligence for stability.
He was described as soft-spoken, high work ethic, integrity, vigilant, patriotic, a mentor.
A consistent picture of dedication and character, both in his liberation role and his long service afterwards.
Okay, finally, the president's address. President Mnangagwa. He offered condolences, mentioned he actually went to the same primary school as Comrade Basopo.
A personal connection there.
He then basically reiterated the contributions of both men, liberation struggle, post-independence careers. What were the key takeaways from his speech?
Well, it served as the formal state validation of their lives and service. He explicitly linked their sacrifices during the struggle to their illustrious careers afterwards, reinforcing them as national role models. He talked about Brigadier General Rungani's military roles, Comrade Basopo's intelligence career.
Right, you mentioned Rungani's role in those campaigns, again, Mozambique, Somalia, DRC. Why emphasize those specific international deployments?
It highlights Zimbabwe's role and Rungani's contribution to regional security efforts, projecting military capability beyond its own borders. It shows a scope of service that included international dimensions.
The president really framed their lives in the context of national progress, didn't he? Mentioning overcoming adversity, striving for economic growth, Vision 2030.
Exactly. By doing that, he positions them as foundational figures. Their dedication, their sacrifices are presented as what made today's Zimbabwe and the aspirations for the future, like Vision 2030, possible. It creates a sense of continuity. Their legacy fuels the ongoing nation-building project.
And he called for unity, focus, vigilance against threats, echoing the values embodied by the heroes.
Yes, urging the nation to carry forward that same spirit of dedication and patriotism. He mentioned their loyalty, consistency, persistency, and then the presentation of the national flag to the families, a very symbolic gesture.
So if we try to pull it all together, looking at the whole ceremony, the speeches, the tributes, what are the core Zimbabwean values and maybe historical narratives being really emphasized here?
I think several things stand out strongly. Definitely patriotism, profound sacrifice for the nation, both in the fight for liberation and in service afterwards. Integrity is huge. Resilience, perseverance through hardship, community contribution, both local and national, and unity, that sense of shared purpose.
And the historical narrative.
The narrative clearly centers the liberation struggle as the defining foundational experience. These heroes embody the ideals of that struggle, and their lives show the continuation of that dedication into building and securing the independent nation. There's a strong emphasis on loyalty to that cause and the nation it created.
It's been a really insightful deep dive, looking closely at how these heroes are remembered.
It reveals a lot.
So a final thought for you, our listener. How does any society choose who it holds up as a hero? What does that selection, that process of remembrance like the one we've discussed today, tell us about a nation's identity, its values, where it sees itself coming from, and perhaps where it hopes to go? The lives and the honors given to Brigadier General Rungani and Comrade Basopo really offer a powerful way to think about that, about the lasting impact of individuals who dedicate themselves to something bigger than themselves.